And welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of Education, Leadership, and Beyond, hashtag ELB, and it is episode number 72. Super pumped to be here. Oh, here's the music. It just came on. How about that technology for you?
I love it.
The music wouldn't come on, and here it is, everyone. I will let that run a little bit. This is episode number 72. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the show, and excited to be here with today's guest, Corey Taylor. Corey is my former student, and Corey is going to tell his story today about his journey that he has been on. He has been through a lot in his life and is doing some tremendous things. He's going to share his story about some facial deformities, some facial, what'd you call them?
Facial differences.
Differences is the politically correct term he told me to say, but he's not embarrassed about it. He's not shy about it. And we're going to talk with Corey here in a minute. So I would like to thank today's sponsor of the show. That is our friends from the Coaching and Leadership Journal, my friend Dan Spanauer from the Leadership Publishing team. If you are a school leader, if you are someone that is looking for great stories or just tidbits of information that are useful to use in your professional life, the Coaching and Leadership Journal, this is a great resource. I love it. There's new stories every month. January 2019 just came out. Check it out. And if you punch in the code at the leadershippublishingteam.com, punch in the code ELB20, Dan will offer you a 20% discount on your annual subscription for our friends here, our listeners on ELB and beyond. So we do want to thank them. So to open today's show, I wanted to chat a few moments before we bring our guest in today, Corey, is 2 points. Number one, if you're working in schools, if you are an educator, one of our philosophies we like to talk about is treat every kid as if they're your kid. Corey was a student in Port Jervis High School, and I got to know him just a little bit. He had some close teachers that he was very close with, but I was fortunate to get to know him. And I always want to make sure I didn't treat him different than anyone else, but I gave him attention and that his needs were taken care of, because I knew in my heart, and certainly he's going to share about it, he was going through a lot with the facial deformities, with the facial issues that he was going through. And he's going to share that story with us today. So number one, treat every kid as if they're your kid, because Corey Taylor does have a family. Corey Taylor is loved by many, and we know that. And those people would expect that from the school teachers. And as a leader, that's very important. The second thing is, think about the next time you say, why me? Or woe is me? Or why are these things happening to me? Sometimes, right, someone cuts you off, they take your parking spot, and all of these things that are going wrong for you. And then you meet Corey Taylor, who has had so many surgeries and has gone through so much. And today, he's an author. He's got a big-time job interview coming up. And he's got a terrific attitude and outlook on life. And just be mindful of that. As you know, good things happen to you, bad things happen to you. Be careful before the next time you say, why me, or woe is me. Because as Corey would say, like, you know, some people got it worse, right? Some people have it worse. So keep that in mind. We're on Be Live right now. And one of the aspects of the show I like to do is interact with our guests. So if you have a question for Corey, if you have a comment for Corey, if you know Corey, if you don't know Corey, please write us a comment and we will interact with you live on the show here on Education, Leadership, and Beyond. And that's an aspect we would like to have for our listening audience that is watching live. If you're watching this after the fact on a recording and you were one of Corey's teachers or one of Corey's friends, leave us a comment. We enjoy reading those afterwards, and we'll try to get back to you on that. So that being said, I would like to welcome in our friend, Corey Taylor. Corey, come on in here. And thank you so much for joining us here on a busy Friday afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful.
Here we go. Corey, slide in a little more. I won't bite you. And I got breath mints here. I had I had a late lunch, so we'll put these out so I'm not breathing on you.
No problem.
Corey, is this your first podcast you've been on?
Second.
Okay.
But yep, I really want to do it because it's a local podcast,
Mhm.
and I was very eager to do it because I'm trying to do a lot more local.
Yeah. Well, Corey, tell our listening audience. I mean, I know your background, I know your story, and we're here to talk about a number of things today. But tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are right now.
So when I was born with a severe craniofacial deformity where my face didn't form completely. When I was born, I actually had no nose, and my left eye was underdeveloped to the point that I have no vision in it. And I had over 50 surgeries growing up before I was 18 years old. And then at that point, the surgeries finally stopped, and I was able to live a life. And I went to high school, finished high school.
Before you get there,
sorry.
When you were a kid,
Yep.
When did you first start to notice my face looks different than other people?
It was something I never really noticed until one day I got into a shoving match with my cousin.
Okay.
And we pushed each other, and he would always thought, never hit Corey. And there was one time we actually got into a shoving match, and I was a little snarky, so I had it coming. But we look up, and my mom is standing right there, so I started crying. She brings me to the other room, and I went and I rubbed my nose, and I'm like, he popped my nose. And she's like, Corey, no, it's always been like that. And that was oh.
Wow.
Just one of those oh moments.
Okay.
But it's one of the things I never really noticed it until I was 3 years old.
Okay. And then so now you're in high school, and that's where we got to meet, right?
Yep. High school, it was actually an amazing experience. And once I finished high school, I started college, but I was not feeling it immediately. I just knew it wasn't something that was for me.
Mm-hmm.
And about a year into high school or college, my grandmother had a stroke, so I stopped to take care of her, and that was a blessing because how many people can give back to someone in the same way that they gave to him? And my grandmother was one of my rocks growing up, so being able to take care of her when she had her stroke, and I ended up taking care of her for 8 years, and I'm very grateful for being able to do that.
Yeah.
And that was an amazing experience and gave me time to figure out what I want to do myself and what I wanted to make my life.
Your Aunt Robin is watching here now. She gives you a shout out. Thanks for tuning in, Aunt Robin. He's a special young man. Corey, going through this, I'm going to ask you about some highs and lows,
Definitely.
Right? Along the way, you'd said high school was a great experience.
Yep.
Did you have some things where kids maybe weren't kind to you or maybe made some comments about how you looked?
Really, I never had any bullying or anyone what happened to your face in school? It was if there's a new kid, they'd be like, what, if you don't mind me asking, what happened? They'd be very standoffish about it.
Because did they think it was an accident? Did they think you were in a car wreck or something?
I've heard car wrecks, I've heard fires, and I've heard my mother did drugs, and none of that was true. None of it.
0 for 3.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm always very open about it. Even back then, I was always very I was born this way.
Yeah.
But because I had so much support in school, everyone was almost there were kids that were afraid to say something because if they what happened to your face? Hey, what are you saying to him?
Yeah.
I had so much backup that if one person said something, they'd have the whole school after them.
Wow.
And it was an amazing support, but I had to be guys, no, it's okay.
Okay. And how about in public, Corey? Were you afraid to go out in public? Were you people looking, things like that?
There were of course, young kids will look, and really most of the time, they'd be like, what happened to his face? And you just, he was born that way, and it's usually fine. It's mostly, honestly, growing up, it was adults that could be the most ignorant. There was one Halloween when I was young, and we went up to a house, and the guy was obviously intoxicated. And he looked at me and he's like, nice mask.
Oh, man.
And now at the time I was just okay. And I walked away and my mom and aunt were there and they were like, Corey, what did he just say to you? Oh, he said nice mask. I thought they meant my mask. Even though I knew that wasn't true, but I didn't want to make it worse.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to upset my family. And when he said that, then all I know is they're like, stay here. They went out to him. They came back with another handful of candy.
Oh,
So I don't know what was that. All I know is he probably didn't have a head by the time they were home.
okay.
But kids, no, mostly like kids have always been very, except for the young kids, which that's why like I actually go to schools now and like talk because I love talking to the younger kids to make them aware. Because I feel like if they see someone who looks different, and after you make them comfortable with it, it kind of desensitizes them, where they're not as like they don't stare as much. They don't feel like they have to be standoffish. Where if they do have a question, they're not afraid to ask. And I'm always a type like I'm an open book. If a kid has a question, I want them to feel comfortable to approach me.
So tell me, you're reaching out to schools and
Yep.
you're speaking to schools now. What's your message when you get there? Like what's the name of your talk?
The biggest thing is treat others how you want to be treated. And I know that's something that's young kids are always taught, but it's something that is it goes to the wayside as they get older.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that like they hear it so much that it loses meaning. And I want them to see, here's someone myself who looks different, and yet I'm just like them. And I'll ask them about different things that they do, like play video games. I play video games, stuff like that. Get them talking, and I show them that I'm just like them, and that's the best way to approach these kids and like approach that topic with them.
Yeah. Corey and I are discussing his journey here. We're going to discuss some aspects of his life. If you are watching live, family or friend, or even if you don't know Corey and you're watching live, please give us a question or a comment because we would like to interact with our listening audience or our watching, viewing audience here. So, Corey, on this journey, right, you've touched on a couple of things here, but tell me about a high in your life that was just a tremendous experience. And then maybe some of the lows also.
If it's okay, I want to start with a low because it kind of goes into the high.
You're the star guest here, Corey.
A big low happened when, so like I said, my grandmother had a stroke,
mm-hmm.
and I was helping take care of her with my mother and my aunt, and we all like teamed up to make it as comfortable for her as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And one night I watched my grandmother while my mother went out for a little while, and she deserved it because we were all there a lot. So she went out for a while and she came home and she was like, and we were bickering back and forth where it was just nothing that we both wanted to get the last words. Like, Corey, stop it. Okay, fine. Corey, stop. And we were just driving each other crazy. So she's like, Corey, why don't you go to the house for the night, get away for a while? I'm like, well, I was just kidding. She said, no, not because, just to give yourself some time away.
Sure.
So I went home for the night. I went back the next morning. And I walk in and I see my grandmother tipped over in her wheelchair.
Mm.
So I go to try and get her up and she's like pushing me away and she's pointing to her bedroom. I look into the bedroom and I found my mother on the floor.
Oh my gosh.
She ended up having a massive stroke.
Oh man.
And for me, like those literally are my two rocks. Like growing up, my parents and my grandmother were my biggest support. They were, if I needed anything, they were always there for me. And having that, like literally my two rocks, like lay on the floor, it hit me in a way I didn't know what to do. I immediately called 911. Unfortunately, my dad was actually at my house with me the night before because he asked me what I was doing. I was like, oh, I just came home for the night. So he came to watch some movies with me. So I called him. I called 911, and I ran over to get my aunt because she lived right next door. And the doctors told us that my mother was going to either die or be a vegetable. Lo and behold, it's now about 5 years later. She's walking. Her speech is rough, but she can still talk, tell you to go do something to yourself if you upset her. And she's doing amazing. And for someone who they said was going to die or be a vegetable, she's doing amazing.
That's terrific.
But for me, like I said, I helped take care of her and my grandmother up until last year. My grandmother passed away. Yeah. But you know what? It wasn't even like they always say in the newspapers, like how someone passes away with their family around them. And it's not just a saying, like it was, she was surrounded by her family, and that's all anybody can ask for. Wow. And that was a very hard moment. Okay. But the highest is after my grandmother had her stroke about 2 years after. I was trying to figure out what I want to do, and I started writing. And about the time I started writing, I log on to Facebook and I see that R.L. Stine was going to be at a writers' conference across the country in Colorado. I was like, okay, I don't know how, but I'm going to do that. I've never been on a plane except for the senior trip.
Sure.
I never was on a plane alone, never traveled alone, but I was like, I got to do this. I usually, when at that point, when I would do that, something would happen and I'd be like, okay, I can't do it. Oh, well. And I'd kind of talk myself out of it. At that point, I knew it was something I had to do. And everything just came together immediately where I found, when my aunt was working, I found someone to watch my mother and my grandmother. I set everything up like that day and everything just fell into place.
Awesome.
And I was, okay, you know what? I got to do this now.
R.L. Stine is an author that you liked.
Oh, I read one of his books in like elementary school.
Give me the name. What is some of the name of his books?
Say Cheese and Die. He's the creator of Goosebumps, Fear Street.
Yeah. Okay.
And one day I read Say Cheese and Die, and I literally heard the bell ring, and I looked up, realized I was in the library, and I was like, wow, his book just took me out of my world and into his own.
Wow.
I want to do that. And that told me right there, I was like, okay, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So when I saw he was going to be at a writer's conference, I was just learning how to, just trying to write myself. I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity to finish my book, go to this writer's conference, meet R.L. Stine, talk to literary agents, and see what I could do to start my own career.
Yeah.
And I went to the conference the first day. Who's walking toward me but R.L. Stine?
Wow.
I almost talked myself out of it. Oh, he's probably going somewhere. I don't want to bother him. Just doing anything to talk myself out of it. But I was like, no, I'm doing this. Walked up to him and I actually talked to him for 5 minutes. And he was one of the nicest guys you will ever meet. And that day I ended up in line they had like a banquet hall where you had meals. And I was in line for lunch. And the person who organized the whole conference saw me. He said, Corey, come with me. Uh-oh, what'd I do? I go to the conference, or I follow her and into the conference room where they were having all the meals in the banquet hall. And she sits me down at R.L. Stine's table. I was like, are you sure? I'm like, you're not going to get in trouble, are you? She's like, I organized this. Wow. We're good. So, and that same year, that same conference, I ended up having an agent actually want to read my whole book.
Cool.
So it was an amazing experience. And that was definitely my highest of the highs, because here's someone who I never went off my street, out of my town, and I just traveled across the country on my own. It was an amazing experience. It showed me I could do anything.
And tell me now, because you sent me your book the other night, tell our audience, what is the name of your book? What is it about? And is it out yet? Are you working on getting it published? Where are we at with it?
It's called Small Town State of Mind, and it's an homage / parody of small town and like people's perception of small towns.
And is that built on Port Jervis here? We are in Port Jervis.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
It's a lot of there's a lot of settings in the book that are based off of areas around here.
Okay.
There's the main setting is a bar, and it's based off of the Erie. There's a scene where they have to go to a point where you're in 3 places at once, and it's based off of Tri-State Rock.
There you go. And
there's a store near where I live, Odell's, and one of the first scenes takes place in that store.
Cool.
So yeah, it's a psychological thriller where it's about a city boy who gets stuck in a small town, and he has very ignorant views of a small town, and he's thinking, you know what, I'm going to keep my head down because I want to get involved in a small town drama. So he tries to keep his head down, but it doesn't work, and he ends up in a deadly game of cat and mouse with a cop that's going off the edge.
PJ Police Cop?
No. That's not based off of none of the characters are based off of anybody. Okay. I want to stress that.
Okay. And Corey, how about getting it published and that kind of stuff? Where are you with that right now?
I'm still sending it out to agents and trying to find someone who is willing to help me publish it.
Sure.
If I don't get any interest by April, I'm probably going to start pursuing self-publishing.
Okay.
I just didn't want to do that right away, because I'm worried that it won't be able to make it out to the vast majority.
Sure.
And I actually see it as a Netflix series.
Okay.
And I want that possibility to happen in I want to make it happen the best that it can. And I'm worried if I self-publish that the right eyes won't get on it, if that makes sense.
You know, Corey, people have said that with your facial issues that it's affected your vision.
Yeah.
But for this project here, you have tremendous vision. And I know Netflix is a big follower of education, leadership, and beyond. So Netflix, if you're watching, he's got a series for you here. All kidding aside, though, for our friends watching, if you do know people in the book publishing business, we've talked about that. We've had my self-publishing group on that I worked with as well. But if you do know a publisher, let's get them in touch with Corey Taylor. Let's get that book out there.
And I got to tell you, when you published your book, it inspired me because I was like, wow, that's amazing.
If that guy can do it.
No, it was more like you're someone local. And I was like, okay, so clearly we're not forgotten. So I was like, if another local person can do it, then I can do it. And it really inspired me.
Yeah.
And I just,
Well, I appreciate that. One of your former classmates here, Rachel Marcilliot, is tuning in here. Rachel, thanks for tuning in. If you want to send us a question here, that'd be great. We're getting good luck from James Broderick here on your book. That's great, Corey. And you mentioned how fast you type here in our pre-show thing, a little bit faster than me. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how fast that is?
So I went for a technology evaluation through the Commission for the Visually Impaired. And they sent me to a place called Vision. And they did a bunch of tests. And one of the tests was a typing test. And I could type from 83 to 90 words per minute with 99 to 98% accuracy.
That is tremendous. And you took a keyboarding class in high school that you really liked.
Yep. I believe it was taught by a teacher that long retired, Mrs. Knight.
Yeah.
But when I took the class with her, and she taught my mother. So we ended up bonding instantly. Fantastic. So it was just one of those things where I just took off.
You know, Corey, going through those teenage years in high school, and I'm really glad to hear about the kindness that you experienced more so than people saying hurtful things to you. Was there some adults in there that really took you under your wing? Some people along the way that helped you, inspired you, things like that?
Yeah, there's actually 3 that I have to mention.
Okay.
Mrs. Bloom and Mrs. Ewald was my aide and my vision teacher from elementary school to high school.
They stayed with you.
Yeah, they stayed with me the entire time,
okay.
And I'm very grateful for everything they did for me. And then in high school, there was Mrs. Valentine, who I can tell you right now, without her, I would not have made it out of high school. I would have ended up dropping out, or I don't think I would have made it out because I had a lot of trouble trying with my attention, trying to keep focused with everything. And she was someone who she was like a mother figure to me.
Yeah. And
she was just someone who I ended up having surgery, and I had home instruction. She ended up being the teacher who did it, and her and I just she made it fun where we would talk and we would just end up she made math fun, which making math fun for me is a challenge. And we had to read Macbeth, which I did anything I could to get out of it because it was something where I just was not a fan of that. The old English language, like the Shakespeare, I'm not a fan. Yeah. But she made it fun, and I am so grateful just for having her in my life.
She make a cake for your birthday?
She's made me a cake. She's made me it's like a noodle casserole.
Oh, yeah.
And it's it's like a Jewish dish, and it was something that to this day is one of the best things I've ever eaten.
Well, and we certainly want to give a shout out to Miss Valentine. She lost her husband after a long battle there with some illness, and I know our hearts go out to her, but you were very special to her as she was to you, and you've meant a lot to us. Corey, you mentioned about the typing and that you went for an evaluation. You got a job interview coming up here, and you're leaving here in the next couple of days. Tell me a little bit about this job interview. What do you have on the horizon?
So it's work placement, or kind of like an evaluation where they see how you do with resumes, and they look at your resume, help you revamp it. They help you do a mock interview where you do a job interview to see how you do and what you can do to improve it. And then there's a big networking opportunity where they're bringing us to Google in New York City.
Wow.
And it's a way to kind of meet the people that work there and sort of tell them about yourself and see if maybe there's a job opportunity for you there. and with my typing skills, and I've been doing data entry for the last 6 months ish. They believe that it's a possibility that they might end up wanting to take me on. So yeah.
You're doing a good job here on the show, but of course they'll want to take you, and we're excited for you. That's a great opportunity.
Yes, definitely.
Corey, another question. A couple years ago, the movie Wonder came out, where it does feature a young man that did have similar facial deformities, facial differences, as you mentioned, also, and it brought a lot of attention. You had mixed feelings on the movie, but what did that movie mean to you, and what did it do for people that have similar, kind of facial issues as yourself?
One of the big things is it opened up a line of communication about facial differences, because before that movie and before the book came out, it was something that wasn't really talked. It was almost taboo, and that for me that always bugged me. So the fact that it opened up that line of communication and it opened up that topic, really it helped. It made me feel a lot better, because I was like, okay, you know what? They're talking about it. Now let me see how I can talk about it. So I started to pursue different things, and I started calling it my Wonder Story. And when I'm going to be honest, when I read it, cause it started off as a book. I read the first few chapters and I was like, I can't do it. I ended up closing the book. I'm like, I can't read it, because every time I get a page in, I'd be like, my story's better. And it's just one of those things where the person who wrote it saw a kid on the bus that had a facial difference, and that kind of sparked the whole book. And I feel like if it came from someone who had a facial difference, it would have had a little more of an impact.
Yeah.
But I thought it was an amazing way to kind of, like I said, open up the lines of communication. And it had an amazing cast. The movie had an amazing cast. And the movie kept my attention the entire time. And it was very well done. I believe there are some scenes they could have did that could have been a little more impactful. But because of the demographic they were going for, it would have been kind of difficult to do.
Sure.
But I think they should have did more surgeries in the movie, where they kind of just talk about it.
Sure.
And I think they could have kind of had a scene that it could have showed people a little more what he's going through if they had the surgery aspect part of it. And I just feel like that kind of they kind of dropped the ball a little bit.
Because you've gone through it. You've experienced it.
Right. And that's why I feel like if someone who had a facial difference was writing it or doing, the movie, it could have hit home a little more. But like I said, it opened up the line of communication, and it made it so it's a topic that people talk about. And you know what? If that's what it, took to do it, great.
Yeah. Corey, we got Ashley Hunt. She wants to read Small Town State of Mind. We got a purchase right there.
Definitely, Ashley.
Yeah. Ashley, if you have a question, if you're watching live, you want to put a question on there for Corey or I, please do so. He's doing a great job today. Corey, back to, again, the movie, that brought a lot of attention. You're now going into schools. You're speaking to people. Is there a help group? Is there a group where you could talk to younger kids that might not be as resilient as you, that you can help them?
I just over the last year started with different Facebook groups, and I've just gone to different craniofacial malformation groups and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been something that I've been trying to do more of, where I go in and I kind of if I see someone having a hard time, I kind of tell them, hey, I've been through this, just know it gets better. And the big thing I always try and do is talk to the parents of the children that have the facial deformities.
Sure.
There's one in particular I met a few years ago. My mom actually showed me, it was a video that went viral online, and it was a young woman who had a child with a facial deformity. And people were being very callous, with their comments. And I ended up messaging her. And to this day, her and I talk, and her son's getting older. And it's so funny, because I see him and I'm I see so much myself in him.
Sure.
He's very, he's very funny. He'll make funny comments. And I'm he's just like me when I was young. And
wise guy.
Yeah. And that for me is really cool, because I think, as he gets older, I'm going to be able to talk to him a little bit and kind of help him through it and help his mother through it, because it's something that it's very hard for the child, but it's very, very hard for the mother, because they see it where the child is more like, okay, like it's something we're doing, or like, oh God, surgery is gonna hurt, pain. They don't think about the whole aspect of it, whereas the parents are forced to see it completely, and I believe that they deserve a lot of support as well.
Corey, we named the show Inspiring to Inspire. And I got to tell you, even I felt this in high school, you were an inspiration. But to see you now as a young adult writing books and groups, you really are inspiring. And I'm really proud of you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Basically, my goal is I figure I keep achieving my goals. I can inspire people just in that alone. So if I can go to schools and different places and talk to them, then I can inspire them that much more. And my goal is just to inspire as many people as possible, one person at a time.
Corey, if there's an educator that's watching, they want to contact you about the book, or they want to contact you about speaking at their schools, what would be the best way to do that?
Definitely email. We can post my email right there, but it's CoreyT0304@gmail.com. I've had like more professional emails put in, but somehow it always comes back to that one.
Sure.
So that's the best place to reach me is by email or by my Facebook.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty much always by my computer or by my cell phone, and my Facebook's always ready to go.
So we'll put that in the comments here. We'll put that email. But that's great that you're willing to help other people. Corey, you mentioned about the surgeries and what you've gone through there. What did you think of the opening concept of sometimes people saying, woe is me, or why me? And here's you, the hand you've been dealt, yet the positivity and the message that you're taking with the life circumstances that you've been dealt with. Tell me a little bit about that.
I think everybody at one point or another says, why me? For me, it's usually if I stub my toe 3 times in one day or my computer's not working right. That's when I say, oh, why me? But as a whole, I believe, like with my facial deformity, like there are people that say, oh, do you ever see, do you say why me? And I'm like, no, for me, it's more, why not me? Because if it wasn't me, maybe it'd be someone else. And what if that person wasn't as strong and couldn't handle it like I have? Like, what if they didn't have the support that I have had? So like I said, my family, my friends, like their town had always been a big support for me. What if they didn't have that support?
Yeah.
And for me, like, I've never known someone like for as far as my facial deformity, no, I've never wanted to say why me because, like I said, why not me?
It's tremendous. He's got a tremendous attitude. I'm so proud of this young man. We're going to get this book out there. We're going to get you this job. If you don't get this job, I'm going down there knocking somebody out.
If anybody else needs data entry work, give me a call.
Yeah. So, Corey, we got some rapid fire questions here. These are quick answers. The first thing that kind of comes to your head, okay?
Yep.
We're going to throw some wrestling in there, too. I know you're a big wrestling fan.
Okay.
So, the last book you read?
The last book I read was Stephen King's On Writing.
See, you've read it a couple of times.
500-600.
He's a big-time writer.
He's phenomenal. And any of you have Audible, I would get his audiobook because he actually does the voice, and it makes his life story that much more impactful.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, it's about writing.
Yep. It's a hybrid of a how-to, but it's more like how to achieve your goals as well as a life story. And it's something that, like, anybody who, if you've ever even heard of the name Stephen King, check this book out.
Yeah. You should try to get in touch with him and see what he could do for you.
Yeah.
Let's see.
It's a dream.
Let's see. Last movie you saw?
Halloween. The new Halloween movie.
You mentioned this earlier. Favorite place to travel?
Colorado, definitely.
Yeah. What town were you in Colorado?
Colorado Springs.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It was beautiful. It was like the people are so relaxed.
Yeah.
Like living in New York, you tend to come across a lot of people. Like if you bump into them, they
get out of my way.
Exactly.
Over here. Yeah.
Where in Colorado, it's more like, oh, I'm sorry, let's go get a drink. It's just like it's so relaxed and just it's a very laid back community. And for me, I think eventually, if I could ever afford to up and move across the country, I would end up in Colorado.
Okay. Good to know. If you're watching, Mary Blodgett, our friends out in Colorado that are watching, The Colorado school district, Colorado Springs School District, was a big fan of the principal. They actually purchased the book for their whole district. So
Wow.
very, very grateful to Colorado Springs. Maybe we'll go out there together for a little professional development action.
Let's do it.
Yeah, man. Okay. Corey, what's something that motivates you?
The future. I think about the things I want to achieve, and Jim Carrey did a video. He said, "Manifest Your Own Destiny," where he talked about how he wanted his dreams to come true. So he just pictured it. He said, "I'm going to do this." And for me, that's what I do. I think about the future. I'm like, oh man, the future is big. It's going to be amazing. And it just inspires me and it just motivates me to keep on going.
This guy's killing it, man. You're killing it. 3 most important qualities of being an author.
Motivation, the drive to never give up, and networking. And that's with everything. But networking is key.
I like it. What do you write here? What's in the movie Up? Yeah, stay focused.
Yeah, focus is a biggie because it's very easy, especially for writers. If you're like, oh, it's not going the way I want it to, or you sit down to write, squirrel. It's literally like that movie Up, where the dog, he's like, "Hi, I'm George," and then he's talking. All of a sudden, you see him look away. Squirrel.
Yeah,
that's a writer. When you sit down to write, it's so easy to procrastinate and find other things to, focus on, and you end up writing one word, and that's it.
We had John Feinstein on the show here. He's a big sports writer and has written a bunch. And he always said he stops writing in the middle of a sentence.
Yep, and that's what they tell you to do. They say set like a goal of how many words you want to write, or a time, like an hour you want to write a day. And once the hour is up, just stop.
Stop. Middle of the sentence. Yeah.
Yep.
3 most important qualities of being a good motivational speaker.
Confidence. Again, the networking is key because without networking, nobody knows, where you are, who you are, how to get in touch with you. So networking is always key. And know what you're talking about, like know the topic you're going to discuss beforehand, like study up on it, ask other people about it, make sure you know what you're talking about. Because if you're like stuttering, if you're on, thinking while you're on stage, like, what were they saying again? It kind of loses the audience.
Sure.
So yeah, definitely network, know the audience, and
confidence.
Confidence. Thank you.
Right. That's great. And I would think if you're good, Corey, and you're doing good work in schools, we'll have to have you back at the high school. But there's something too that they pay big bucks for motivational speakers. So we'll have to get Corey on the docket there. A little bit of a lighter topic. I know wrestling is a big part of your life.
Yes.
Who is the best all-time wrestler? Number one all-time wrestler.
The best wrestler of all time is The Undertaker. And the best wrestler I've met personally, Matt Hardy. Because I've actually met both of them, but I've met Matt Hardy 5 times. And he remembers me.
Wow.
And people when facial differences, people are always like, it's very hard to be just a face in the crowd. But when going to meet and greets and meeting these wrestlers and being able to tell them how you have an impact on, how they've had an impact on you, and then having them remember you later, that's an awesome feeling.
What is it about wrestling that draws you to it?
It's something that has always been like a way of kind of taking me out of my world. And growing up, having all those surgeries, that was something that I'm very grateful for. And nowadays, it's just, I'm very passionate about it, where the creative aspect of it, and I'm watching long enough and now I'm like, oh, they should have did this or they should have did that. But I love the creative aspect and just it's very gripping. Especially when you've been watching it since 1992. It's very, very gripping, and it just kind of keeps your attention. And sometimes you might throw your remote at the TV, say you'll never watch again, but you're
going back.
Yeah.
I don't want to use the F word here on my show, Corey, but
it is not. It's not that. It is not. No, it is staged
entertainment.
It is predetermined, but fake means you or I could go in there and do what they do. And I don't know about you, but me, that's not happening.
Yeah.
But stage means these guys are just like athletes. They, train, they learn how to do the craft, and they bust their butts to do what they do. And the outcome is more times than not predetermined, but a lot of the aspects, especially nowadays, is more real than people realize.
If there was a wrestler that you could bring back from the past that when you watched when you were 8 and 10 years old, who was your favorite when you were there?
There's one wrestler, Bret Hart.
Yeah.
Who I actually
the
have.
Hitman.
The Hitman.
Yeah.
I actually have his logo tattooed on my arm. And
did he pay you for that?
No, I actually was worried of trademark infringement, but
okay.
But yeah, he's someone he was the best storyteller. He could get in that ring, and he wouldn't say your prayers and take your vitamins, something that he never preached. He always fought for his family. He fought for, there was valid reasons why he would fight the way he did, or why he always had a reason, and he was an amazing storyteller in the ring.
What's up with the greasy hair, man? Why do you have the greasy hair?
Because when you're trying to throw someone across the ring, you can't grip them.
All right, back to some not that we weren't talking about real stuff.
Let's not go there.
What a biggest pet peeve of yours, Corey? What's something that gets under your skin?
Negativity, and just overall negativity, because for me, there's a lot of reasons in this world to be negative and to be down on yourself and others. But you know what? There's more nowadays. There's so much to be happy about, so much to be positive over. If things aren't going the way you want, if someone doesn't act the way you want, you know what? Embrace it, or if you really can't take it, then just walk away.
It's unbelievable. You're unbelievable. You're blowing me away. You're doing a great job. Short-term personal goal, 3 to 5 months.
Get a job and hopefully move into a place in town. Because right now where I live in what I call the middle of nowhere, because for someone who doesn't drive, it's very hard to do anything. Mm-hmm. And my goal is to move into Port Jervis, where I can kind of do a little more independently. And the first step of doing that is getting a job and finding a cheap place.
Colorado Springs or Port Jervis, here he comes.
Exactly.
Long-term goal, you talked about the future, 3 to 5 years.
Financially stable. Maybe, hopefully, the big dream is to be a writing professionally, either for a website or a published author. My goal is I want to make writing my living. And that is the overall goal. And hopefully becoming a known motivational speaker.
We're going to get this show out to some publishing people. We're going to get this show out to some writing people. If you know those people in your profession, let's get Corey connected here. Again, Corey, give your contact information if people do want to try to get you to your schools and or they're interested in your super fast typing or your amazing positive attitude. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
My email or my Facebook. My email is CoreyT0304@gmail.com.
Okay. Corey, obviously the book recommendation for the show here, Small Town State of Mind by Corey Taylor. That is going to be out on the shelves soon. It's going to be a bestseller.
Hopefully.
And how about a favorite quote, Corey? We like to end the shows with a quote.
The biggest quote, and it's something that, like I said before, is treat people how they treat you. And it's something that we learn as a child, but as we get older, it goes to the wayside and we forget about it. But it's something that, especially nowadays with so much, with social media and everything, if we treat people with more respect and more kindness and just treat people the way we want to be treated, it could go a long way. And nowadays, especially, like I said, with social networking the way it is, it could be huge.
Well, you're modeling that, Corey. You're living that. I'm glad that you were to come on. You were thanking me for coming on the show,
I'm very grateful.
But it's back at you. I'm grateful that you were here with us, and really to hear about the education that you got at Port Jervis High School and the adults that helped you along the way was terrific. There's no bonuses in education, Corey. You're the bonus, and we know you're going to take off with this writing, and here we go. Your aunt is your book here. She got it. Great read and couldn't put it down.
I appreciate that.
I'm going to be next on that. So anything else, Corey, before we sign off that you wanted to say or share?
I think that we've pretty much covered it.
Okay.
Is just be good to each other, and if you need someone, look me up.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We are going to sign off here on Education, Leadership, and Beyond. I got the music queued up this time, so we'll get it rocking out. My friend Pete Connors, Shabby Studios, if you're interested in getting some custom music, he did a great job. So, Corey, we appreciate you coming on. Let's get this going here. There we go. Get this music queued up. So this is Corey Taylor, everyone, signing off here on Education, Leadership, and Beyond. I'd like to thank our sponsor again, Dan Spanauer, Coaching and Leadership Journal. They'll get you a nice discount. ELB20 is the code. So thank you for tuning in, everyone. Corey,
Thank you for having me.
great job.
Thank you very much.
Great job. We're going to sign off. Have a great weekend. Leave us a question or comment here, certainly on Twitter. If you'd like to reach out to me, at Andrew Murata21. If I can help you in any way, please reach out. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. You did a really good job.
Thank you. Nervous.
You're still on.
Oh, it's on.
Bye-bye, everyone.